Hello and welcome to Videodrone, a podcast about movies and TV and just little doggies. Little doggies on the couch. My name's Ben Vanel. I'm joined as always by Tommy Dassolo.
Hello.
We are in yet another new recording location in the house.
Yeah, this is our first IRL Videodrone.
It is too, yeah.
Sort of technically a live episode because my dog's watching us do this.
And joining us, please, Cupie, give a round of applause to our wonderful guest, Jen Fricker.
I'm the little doggy on the couch.
Yeah.
Woof woof.
Yes, you're in town for the Melbourne International Comedy Festival.
We love it, folks.
We love it. It's our favourite industry event of
Yes,
the year.
I love to network.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
having meetings.
You're doing
Yeah.
the funny ton this year, right? That's why.
Fuck me. Has anyone checked it? Do we ever get like a mental health acquittal of those people at the end of the funny time? I feel like you should look at them in a year's time and just see where they are in their lives.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
There's
I think-
because
A
for
wellness
people
check.
who don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
there's like it's a thing that the comedy festival run. It's like a basically, I don't know what you'd call it. Not kind of a contest. They'll
Yep.
pick like 3 or 4 people, and they get given free tickets to every show. And it's basically how many shows can you see over the course of the festival. And you're sort of supposed to get on and kind of log a little review of
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And you always see there'll be one person that starts out real strong where they're like seeing 4 a night.
Yeah.
And then they just
Very
burn
thoughtful
out
review.
after
Yeah.
5 days.
Yeah.
And just either they stop logging the reviews and it's hard to know whether they're just like running out of time to put the reviews in or if they've just burnt themselves out on
Yeah.
comedy
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
can't bear to sit in another room and hear another routine about Tinder. It's impossible to know. But fun fact, Nick Mason of the Weekly Planet started out as a funny tonner.
Yeah,
back
did
in
I
the
think
he
day.
that's
win?
how I met Mason.
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
Right.
I think he won.
Yeah.
The record is something insane. Like
Yeah.
it's literally
60-something shows or something.
Oh, more than that.
More than
I think
that?
it's like
Hunch?
it might be because the festival's like what 24
23, 24 days, something like
days,
that.
yeah, and people will see like you can do 4 a night
That's
if
true.
you wanted to.
That's true.
If you go from 6 until like midnight, you could fit that many in.
Well, I think the wellness check, and this is sort of the thing with Funny Ton, a lot of them end up becoming comics.
Yeah.
So clearly they're not okay.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Clearly
Yeah.
they're
They've
very
seen
damaged.
something in it.
Yes.
Or the void's called to them.
Yes.
And they've answered.
Yeah.
Seeing your like 130th show in like week 4,
Yeah.
and seeing just the most depressed person on stage
Yeah.
you've ever seen, who's got like 4 people in their audience, that just pores are clogged from only eating at the Swanston Towers for a whole month, and thinking, I'm going to quit my job on Monday.
Yeah,
I'm going to
I
have a crack
gotta
at this.
do this. I do
The
wonder if,
stage is calling to
yeah,
Oh.
I feel like maybe it's more like, oh, it's this?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, man, I used to really love this art form, and now I see any fucker can do
Yeah.
I
it.
used to think this was cool when I
Yeah.
saw 2 shows a year. And now
Yeah.
that I'm seeing a real spread of it.
Yeah.
it's
I can
actually-
do better than this.
Yeah.
yeah. When I used to kind of just handpick 2 of the biggest shows, it was sort of a bit impressive.
Yep.
And now that I'm seeing literally everything and seeing the real bottom rung of it, the sheen has worn off.
Yeah. Stinky, and I want a piece.
Anyway, come to my show that starts tomorrow if
Yeah.
you're in Melbourne.
Oh, yeah, we are plugging?
Yeah, let's plug.
Yeah.
My show starts tomorrow. If you listen to this hot off the presses, it's called Main Character. It's at Cooper's Inn, 7:30 p.m. until April the 6th. Would love to see some drones in the crowd.
Yes.
Some droners.
Yes.
I've directed a show by Alice Tovey. It's called Glass Houses. It is on for the first week and a half of the festival.
Nice.
At Storyville, 9:00. See it. It's good.
Nice.
It's good.
Hell
It's
yeah.
a great story.
Yep.
Nice.
Well, it's at the home of stories.
It's the the tables of books there, honey.
How do you get to Storyville? Is it kind of like going into Toontown in Roger Rabbit, where you walk to a brick wall and there's just a kind of an open book there,
Yes.
and you like drive through it, and then all of a sudden, no, I'm in the page.
I honestly thought it would be. It's actually far less restrained in its decor than I kind of expected. I'd
Sure.
never been there before.
You
but
expected someone dressed as the Mad Hatter to be meeting you at the front door.
kind of. It's like it reminds me of
That's
like
what I've always pictured.
I like when I was in Bali last time. I was like, oh, there's a magic bar. This will be fun.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, because I don't like magicians, but I'm like, a magic bar in Bali, like that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
But what it was a very tasteful restaurant
Yeah,
Oh.
okay.
with a whimsical theme, and I was like, I hate this.
Yeah.
What I wanted was like some sweaty dude doing card tricks, and
Totally.
instead I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm having a 3-course like fucking meal inspired by whimsy.
Mm.
Oh.
Fuck, what you've just said before, I think you've really nailed down something about the human experience.
Yeah.
Is that we like magic, but we don't like magicians.
Yes.
Some shit happening in front of me that the
Yeah.
human mind can barely comprehend nor explain.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The practitioners of it, yuck.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about comedy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like a good joke. I hate a lot of the people who deliver them.
comedians. Yuck.
Me and some friends went to a magic show in at Adelaide Fringe.
Oh, yeah.
And the show, it's 3 British guys, a posse of British magicians.
A group of lads.
Yep. And the show
Yes.
was called 1 Hour of Insane Magic. And me and my friend Gibby, we're still
That would
quoting.
get me in. That would get me in. That's
Yeah.
a good title.
Nothing in there was that insane.
Oh.
But me and my friend Gibby are still quoting after every trick. All 3 of them would go, insane magic.
Guys, we have to do that after
Yeah.
this pod.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how this pod ends.
Yeah.
But like just doing it in our real lives. So just like at the pub and like someone lands an incredible joke where you call your friend gay.
Yeah.
Insane magic.
Okay, what is worse? A magician or a British person?
Yeah.
Hey, you're looking at a British person right here.
But you're not magic though. I mean, you're magical.
Can you do any magic tricks?
Yeah, can you do magic?
Oh, no, but I could when I was a kid. I did learn a few card tricks, learn a few coin tricks, but they're no longer with me.
Yeah.
Lachlan from the White Lotus has outstripped me by far at this point.
Far out, yeah.
In many ways, I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Little
really
magician.
he's really doing some stuff.
Yeah, he's
One-
pulling some tricks.
Yeah.
1 hour of little magic.
1 hour of brother incest.
Yeah.
Should we get into...
Oh.
I've completely forgotten what order we normally do these shows
We
in.
go White Lotus
we
first,
start
baby.
White
Yeah.
Lotus, don't we?
Yeah, because Severance has a lot more to spoil.
Yeah.
True.
White Lotus. I think Denials was the
White
name of this.
Brodus, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
White something.
Insane
Oh.
magic.
Yeah, doing it for your own jokes.
Yeah. No, you've got to. That's what they were doing.
Yeah,
they were doing it
yeah.
after their own tricks. But it literally was just like, is this your card? Yes. Insane magic.
That's funny. I think that's very funny.
Yeah.
White Lotus episode 6 of season 3. We've only got 2 more of this season.
Far out.
Yeah, it's an 8-ep season. Let's fucking go through these little
Let's
these
do it.
posses.
Yeah.
I had a gig last night, so I had to watch this quite late on my
Oh, yeah.
laptop, so my memory's a little foggy because I was
Much
I was
like a
drifting
brother
off.
on the boat.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
do
Yeah.
not
I was
know what
flashing
happened.
back to some awful stuff that's happened recently.
Yeah.
Let's get the brothers out of the way.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah.
get the yuckiest bit over and done with.
I think it rocked. I
Yeah.
loved it. I thought it was freaky style.
You just
Oh,
have
man.
to watch it and just constantly be reminding yourself, now they're not actually related in real life.
Yeah.
They're actors pretending to be brothers.
Yep.
I'm not watching actual incest.
Yeah.
But fuck that, like, I was
I-
so uncomfortable.
I loved that they at first are like, okay, maybe it's not as bad
Right.
as you think. Like, oh, maybe it's just like it's not great, but and then it's like smack. Like, no, it's it's worse than you thought it was.
Yeah. So we're morning after.
Ugh.
They're both
Full moon
incredibly
party.
hungover. Saxon's he's having flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
His brother's next to him, shagging away.
Yeah.
And
Already yuck.
Yeah.
the little magician doing the ultimate disappearing trick. And
Far out.
and he's just there cranking one out
Yeah.
next to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, like,
That's bad.
It's-
Is that what you're going to
it's-
say?
it's really good. No. It's humiliating.
Yeah.
It's like...
The dog's leaving.
It would be bad enough if you were like having a threesome with your brother,
Yeah.
or like and you didn't do anything, but you're in bed together. Like that's bad
Yeah.
enough. Being the guy lying next to them having sex, jerking off, and looking at it.
Right.
That's kind of because it's such a low status thing for him.
Yeah.
It's just
Cuck brother.
cuck brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave the room.
Yeah.
Leave the goddamn. Yeah. So that's embarrassing, and obviously he's like, like, oh no.
Also,
And-
like little brother too.
yeah,
The brother that
yes.
is so far in the season, we've seen Saxon trying to be like, be more like me, be more like me.
Yes, yes. You got to
Yeah.
drink the protein.
Yeah.
You got to pick up chicks. And he's initially like, I'll do some magic tricks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, just the worst thing.
So they're kind of they're sort of recapping the night, and Lachlan's like, oh yeah, I was really out of it.
I don't
and
remember anything
Yeah.
that happened last night.
Saxon immediately just like, we both blacked out.
Yeah.
Neither of us remember what happened. We
Yeah.
both blacked out.
I love that I love
Yeah.
it when people do that.
Yeah.
Like, when you see them do the most insane shit and they're like, well, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I actually don't remember anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys don't. Or-
Yeah.
No. I guess we're all
Yeah.
agreeing
Yeah.
that we don't remember.
Yeah. And so they make that pact, that unspoken pact of like, yeah, I blacked out too. But then as the day goes on, so Lachlan goes off with the parents and Piper to the monastery to check that out. Saxon's hanging around the pool, and Chloe and Chelsea are there, and Chloe is like, so you jerked off your brother?
No, his brother joked him off.
Yes.
Because when
Please,
we
let's
see
be specific.
Yes. No.
Yeah.
Lachlan is multitasking
Yeah.
big time.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, and then we get a lot of very graphic flashbacks to that.
They really make it clear exactly what's going on.
Yeah. No ambiguity there.
And do we think Lachlan just fully doesn't remember this?
He remembers.
I think he remembers.
Yeah.
Because I keep thinking about the first episode where it's the shot of Lachlan looking at his brother
Yeah.
in the naked in the mirror.
He's
And so I
twitchy.
think it's like it has set that tone of like there is some element of desire there.
Yeah.
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 Because we're not doling out shandies
No.
while we're rotten.
No.
Yeah.
Unless you really love someone.
I want to be a
Unless
good
you really
brother.
care about them, you know?
And like still obviously they're like drug influenced, they're fucking wasted, sure, but it happened. Lachlan, is like he's not like comfortable enough to be like, hey man, whatever. Like it happened. Like he's still like, no, I also don't remember it. But
Yeah.
And so Saxon is basically just having Nam flashbacks all
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Chloe and Chelsea are like, that's fucking insane. And we basically just kind of get him wandering around in a haze for the rest of the episode, right?
Yeah, they go
Yeah.
back to the villa at one point as the parents and Piper are about to head off, and he's making a smoothie, and he's just
Yeah, he ain't in a good
Yeah.
place.
and meanwhile, the two girls are talking. She says at one point that she hooked up with both of them. Gary calls her
Yes.
and is like, I'm pissed off that you took the boat. And she's like, you gave me the boat.
Yeah.
She's because she's talking about how she's like worried that he's going to get pissed and break up with her.
Or
Yeah,
worse. as she
Or
says.
worse, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I mean, it's better being with him than
It's a
not
good
being with
situation.
someone. Yeah, it's a good situation.
It's a good situation.
Yeah.
And like we see the house, it is a good
It
situation.
really is a
Bad.
good. It's
Yeah.
a great situation.
Yeah. And then we're sort of mixing and matching, but let's continue with Chloe because she goes back to the house and Gary is like, just tell me.
Which one of them did
which
you
one?
fuck?
Yeah, you
Yep.
fuck both of them. Which one did you fuck?
Yeah.
And then he's like, hey, want to have him over for dinner? She's like, oh, a party? I'm having a party?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. What does he say? Like, I might need...
I need to take care of something and I need your help with it.
Yeah.
I will say, I keep going on the writing of this show. This scene this clunked for me. I was like, I don't really see either of these people being convinced enough to like warrant this action. Chloe's smart. Like she's smart enough to know that like she's kind of fucked up and he's not really, that safe for her.
Yes.
And that he's not turned on. Like she kind of phrases it later to the other girl being like, oh no, I think he was a bit turned on by it.
Yeah.
And it's like, she knows that's not true.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, that doesn't track. And then also I think Gary an international man of mystery, like multiple murderer, con man.
Yeah.
I think like he would be smarter than this. I don't know. What did you guys think of this scene?
I think that, it's kind of... I think it's believable that he would be like, look, let's just have a bunch of people over. I've got something that I need to, sort of set up.
Yeah.
I think, I assume he's going to blackmail all of them who hooked up with each other and get him to help him with, the Belinda thing probably.
Yeah.
And I kind of don't think that Chloe buys it. Because like she said, like, I got a good thing going on here. I don't think that she actually believes that he was turned on by it. That could be wrong. She could be, like, not seeing through this, which you're right, would be, like, pretty unbelievable. But I think I'm willing to hold my judgment till next week.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Donna?
Yeah, it does seem like he, would not care all that much about her having cheated. Like, you think about even just, like, what we know of him and his like, journey up to this point. He's so, like, transient that it's like, oh, well, this girl I'm with probably fucked around. There'll be others. You know what I mean?
And
He doesn't... I mean, maybe... I'm sure there's a part of him that would be, like, a bit jealous, but not like, oh, my life is ruined. You're just like, oh, well.
Yeah, I feel like the first 2 seasons, like, every time we've seen him, even when he was manipulating Tanya... It was still quite transparent.
Yeah.
It was never like we're guessing his motivation or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so just this scene, I just was like, it just doesn't, I don't know, it just didn't track for me or something. I don't know.
No, you're right. I think that to make it feel better, I extrapolated in my head that was not in the show. But
yeah, it's hard to know without knowing what he's actually getting at and what his plan is. Presumably something to do with, I keep forgetting her name.
Belinda.
Yeah.
And then, so let's continue. Let's finish off that fam. Piper's like arranged to go to the monastery, show the parents around, make them feel a bit better about this whole, kooky idea.
Yeah, if he's going to have my baby, he'd better be the best damn Buddhist in China.
Oh, God, it's so good.
We forgot to touch on last week's one, the great one where she's like, lots of people write books. Bill Clinton wrote books.
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
I think she wrote 2.
Oh, God.
Yeah, really, really good shit.
Yeah, she's popping out some fucking heaters.
Yeah.
So off they go.
Yep.
She's like, I just want to make sure everything... It's a cult. Before you join this cult, I want to make sure... And so she gets there. She's talking to a couple of guys who've taken a vow of silence, which is fucking beautiful.
Oh, and like this is the point where, before they head off, Lachlan and Saxon turn back up, and then Lachlan starts to do what he was meant to do at the dinner, which is kind of like jump in and back her, and it's kind of a bit... it sort of seems like the mum takes a little bit of it in, but it hasn't really changed her mind about how bad this is.
If he wasn't so busy fucking that random woman and jerking off his brother, maybe he could have been a little more of an assist.
Yeah.
And also...
And that's classic little brother shit.
Yes.
You're always trying to... You just hope that they show up, you know?
Yeah. I believe this episode started with a visualization of Tim killing himself. I don't remember if
and then Piper and Parker Posey's character find him.
Yes. Run in screaming, and he's like, "Oh yeah, my family will be sad."
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's like how dramatic it is too, and it's yes, they would be utterly devastated.
Yes, if I killed myself.
Which watching with my girlfriend, we were both like, they should have fucking done that. Like that would have been it would have been really interesting if that had actually happened.
I obviously knew immediately, this is like him, visualizing or whatever. But then there was a part of me, I was like, I was kind of hoping that they'd do the reverse. It was just a dream, and like you actually be like 20 minutes into the episode going, oh shit, no, he's actually
he's properly dead. Yeah. But I do like this thing. Death is on his mind. He goes along to the monastery with Piper, with Parker Posey's character, which I wish I could remember her name. Why is she so iconic?
I think it's Victoria. Yeah.
Goes along to the monastery with Victoria, Parker Posey's character, and Piper. Piper is talking to someone. Victoria's off trying to talk to the monks with the vow of silence.
She's got her little umbrella.
Yes.
She's like putting it down to do a big like a bow.
And so then we get this head Ratliff chatting to the monk about what happens after we die.
Yeah.
Which another great monologue.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
thought that was I was worried that was going to be a bit, like superficial or something. Really good scene. Like quite, like obviously philosophical and poetic, and like it gets to Tim. He's like, I kind of like that guy.
Death is a return to home.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which you can't tell a suicidal
Right?
person that.
yeah. Oh, it's really nice and
Yeah.
peaceful, and you lose, all of your suffering disappears, and
Yeah.
you rejoin the ocean of all humanity's spirit. Oh boy.
Maybe I will blow my brains out while wearing my Duke t-shirt.
Yeah. Duke.
Offing yourself in the fucking uni merch is still just like, I can't get over it. It's
Imagine.
incredible.
Yeah.
Me wearing like my Project 52 Sydney Uni
Yes.
fucking arts review thing, being like, I'm going to hang myself.
Because he has another like visualization. I can't remember if it's before or after this, of him shooting Victoria.
Yes. So Victoria, they have a conversation once they return. Is it before they go to the
I
monastery?
can't remember.
No, it's when they're about.
They've returned.
I think it's when they're back. Yeah.
Right.
And Victoria says, I know that she won't have a good time because I've seen how these monks live and we need these children to fear poverty.
Yeah.
It's a great bit of dialogue
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And
Where
it
she's
tells
like,
you so
I
much.
just because this is where she's saying like everything's gonna be okay. Like. What did she's basically saying like, as long as we've got all the money.
Yes.
If we didn't have the money, I don't
Yeah.
know what I would do.
Oh God. Yeah.
I just don't think I'm meant to live an uncomfortable life.
Yeah.
I'm too old.
At this age,
At
I
this
don't think I
age.
could do it.
Yeah. I couldn't live with it.
I do love it. It's like how, I don't know how you guys felt about it, but I think like in another show you'd feel like, I mean, this is kind of clumsy
Bit on
writing
the
to have
nose,
a
yeah.
person just come right out and say it, but it like, I don't know, it totally tracks with the character, and it is like
Yes.
sometimes
Yeah.
you have those things where you're like, a lot of times you think like, oh, this person would think this or whatever, and it's like, I mean, nothing could be further from the truth. But
Yeah.
then sometimes it is like, just a person
Love is
will
conditional.
by
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
complete coincidence, the person will just come straight out and say like, oh, that's kind of weird that you've expressed
Isn't-
that when
did
that's
you
what I've been
ever-
thinking about.
Did you ever watch Big Little Lies? And there's that scene with Laura Dern, and she basically finds out that her husband's lost all their money.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
And cheated on her, and she screams, "I will not be rich."
yeah.
And it's just like, it kind of just really reminded me of that. It's like, there's definitely, I think also there is a certain ideology around marriage too, where it's like a woman marries a certain type of man for what he can give her.
Sure.
And I don't mean this in like a hustle culture, like fellas, women are trying to grift
Sure.
you, like all women are gold
But
diggers.
like looking
in
for
a-
a provider, right? Like,
and
very
that
traditional.
their role is to raise the family, and then they will be provided for, and that's
Yeah.
why they kind of groom themselves in a certain way and
Sure.
hold themselves a certain way, because in like their like culturally that's what they kind of believe needs to be done in order to have a good life. So
Yeah, and
the-
when you're younger and you first meet the person, you can be like, hey, we don't need a lot. We've got each other.
Yeah.
Love is all that matters. But then like totally, hey, I'm this age.
Yeah.
I've grown accustomed to this life.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm used to this. I'm settled.
Yeah.
I'm not changing up.
I'm
what
not
I fucking-
downgrading.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
changing up what I do.
I'm not
Yeah.
going and working in Walmart.
Yeah.
It's also
Yeah.
like they're all about symbols, right? It's literally old mate wearing his Duke t-shirt. It's
Yeah.
them talking about what colleges their children have to
Yeah.
go to. It's like so what you're saying, like, who are we if we're not these symbols?
Right.
And she's like, I would be no one. I would
Yes.
literally be nothing if I didn't have the things I own.
Yes.
And the clothes I wear and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, guess
And-
what, bitch? You're
yeah.
broken. Your sons are sucking each other off. I got bad news for you.
Oh Lord.
The bankruptcy is the least of your worries.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta be watching these boys.
Oh.
All sorts of crimes are being committed here. Federal ones and crimes of passion.
Yeah.
I was thinking as well. Sorry to take it back to the boys jerking each other, but I was also thinking too, like in my mind, like kind of step sibling porn would be something that Saxon dude
Yeah.
would.
Oh, big time.
Or like, kind of twincest stuff, like girl on girl. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
these twins are like making out. Like I
Yes.
feel like that would be the stuff that his little fucking adult mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really loved. I don't know. I think seeing it at the end of last episode, I was a bit like, oh man, it's actually gone here. I don't know about this. Like,
Yeah.
what's the end game here?
Mm.
But then seeing an episode now of just like the fallout of this guy hungover,
Yeah.
Right.
spewing,
He is in hell.
talking to
Yeah,
other
yeah.
people who were there. I was like, okay, this is really
Yeah.
because it is like a guy like that who's like supreme alpha.
Yeah.
Like how could you rattle him?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, he's lost his job. Oh, well, that would sort of get to him, but a guy like that would be like, oh,
Pretty
there'll
young,
be,
pretty,
you know,
like,
still
yeah.
like nepo and connected, like,
Yeah.
you know, just actually like this is truly the most like undeniable way to
Yeah.
get to this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Like,
it's his
yeah.
identity as well.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
thinks of
yeah.
himself as like a guiding force in his brother's life.
Mm.
He thinks of himself as like a ladies' man.
Mm.
He thinks of himself as like a mad rooter, and it's just like none of this is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have no control over your life.
Mhm.
You've been cucked by your brother.
Yes.
You've been fucked by your brother.
Even like,
Yes.
white collar crimes are just so like, you know, you bounce back from them. You can be like,
Yeah.
you know, the system's all fucking, you know, why should I pay tax or like whatever. Like
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that world,
Yeah.
I don't think it's even necessarily. It's just like, oh well,
You can
bad luck.
gaslight yourself about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
luck that you got caught. Whereas, like, yeah, incest is just like undeniable to every corner of
Yes,
society,
every
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
except for like maybe that like percentage of people that live in a fucking barn out in the woods and like
Yeah.
everyone is related to each other.
Yeah.
Or live in a castle in England.
yeah.
I could honestly see them rational, like maybe not him, because it's obviously shaken him, but like the pet, you know, Parker Pose's character Victoria being like, well, you know, I'm just happy you love each other.
Yeah.
Because they're like, where are they from? They're from like North Carolina
No,
or
Yeah.
something.
she would draw the comparison to like the royal family.
Totally.
And how
Yeah.
that would
Totally.
be like a badge of honor. Like,
Yeah.
that's how the kings and queens used to do it.
Well,
Yes,
and she does
yes.
say as well to be suspicious of other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
not everyone
yeah,
is as
true.
well-meaning as us.
Keep it in the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, while she is saying all that stuff about how she could not live without money, Tim is sort of like, I think it could be good for the kids, you know, like they've got to rough it a bit, you
Yeah.
know, toughen them up.
There was a moment where I'm like, maybe he goes to monastery. He's like, oh, I want to be. Maybe
Yeah,
this
yeah,
will
yeah.
help me. You know what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, also at the start when after he's visualized himself with the gun and he's like, no, you know what? Now that I've fully played it out in my head, I guess killing myself on this family holiday would be quite bad. He goes and puts the gun in a little locker.
Tea
Yes.
tress door thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, but then we also have Piper's experience at the monastery where she basically like just opens up, has a D&M with this monk, and is like, I think this could be really good for me, you know, like I don't agree with my family about anything. I need to like find who I am. And he's like, a lot of young Americans come here.
Yeah. There's nothing special about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, but it's also like, yes, they feel like they've lost touch with nature and themselves, and or like their family. They're too obsessed with themselves is the problem. So, and then yes, Victoria makes the bargain of like, I could support this if you sleep a night here, see how they live, and if you still want to do it, fine, I'll allow it. And so that's where we end up with Piper, right? Her and Lachlan are going to sleep at the monastery.
Yeah.
Probably good.
Yeah.
Unless he's he won't ruin her, will he?
Actually, yeah. Bridget did be like, are they going for round 2 with
Oh,
the incest?
yeah.
Is he just going to work his way through the family?
Bridget did be like. I love it when Bridget be like.
Bridget be like.
Sometimes
"My
Bridget be
incest?"
like,
Oh, hell no. Yeah.
But a bit that
God, I
actually
hope
did
not.
make me scream out loud, and it wasn't the incest. It was the second dream run of the Mr. Ratliff shooting Victoria
yeah.
in her sleep
Ugh.
to put her out of her misery of the idea of being poor and then shooting himself.
Yeah. God.
That made me scream.
Yeah.
Because it does seem plausible. This show, this show taking it to this incest level,
Yeah.
opens the door for some of the it opens the door for anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I do think I don't know, kind of showing him visualizing this stuff is like a way of going, hey, this isn't where it's gonna. We wouldn't show you him
That's
fantasizing about this if we were actually then going to do it. So it's kind of like, hey, he's not. That gunshot isn't him killing himself. It's not him killing his family.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of feel that that's like their way of sort of just getting that sort of off their chest.
It's
or
not
whatever.
happening this way.
I think
because
that's
it is
probably true.
that Chekhov's gun thing, right? It's like
Right.
you introduce the gun, someone's got to be shot with it and
Yeah.
die. And so they've introduced it to this family, and then they've like played out the scenarios, and then it's eventually given back to Guy Talk.
Yeah.
Guy Talk gets
It is very funny to
Yeah.
be the Chekhov's gun. Oh, the gun goes into the drawer. Well, someone's going to get the gun out of the drawer. And
Yeah.
I do like that, they did that the first time in such an overt way, and the gun has now been put into like 3 different drawers.
Yeah.
I do like it's
Yes.
like they're really making a big point of the gun, almost
Yeah.
going like,
Yeah.
this is such a fucking trope. If we're gonna have it in there, let's just really have it be like, I don't know if you ever watched High Maintenance. There's an episode of that where it's like the one lighter that keeps getting passed around.
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
just the gun going on a a little journey around
Yeah.
the resort.
It's one of the characters at this point. Yeah, but I just thought...
It's the 6th Ratliff.
Yeah, totally. But then it's had its journey with the Ratliffs resolved.
Yes.
And it returns to Guy Talk.
Yes.
Yep.
So
Who gets it back just in time.
He gets it back
He
just
goes
in
looking
time.
for it. He finds it where it's been hidden because his boss has come to him at the start of the day and goes, hey, at the end of your shift, why don't we go to the gun range with that gun I gave you? At the end, not now, at the end of your shift. So so basically you've got to have the gun within about 6 hours time.
Yeah. Which I'm sure is fine because it's in that cabinet.
It's just in there.
Yeah.
But
it's just over there.
Yeah.
We won't go right now.
Yeah.
We won't look at the gun right now while we're talking about it.
No,
But when I come
yeah.
back,
It's
you're going to
almost
have
like
to have the gun.
I've set up like a ticking clock,
Yeah.
you know, for when we'll get the gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, Guy Talk goes in. He's still very like tentative. Like it's like you're a security guard. You can just be like, yeah, I'm doing a security check.
Yeah, because he's walking
your
back.
staff.
Yeah, he's leaving as they're coming back to the
From the
house,
monastery.
and he's very like,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, you could just be like, oh, just doing the rounds.
Yeah.
But you could have been like, hey, I found a gun in your thing.
Yeah. What's up with that?
You're under arrest.
Bang, bang, bang. But that's basically it. Yeah, he gets the gun back just in time. Lisa is like really excited because he tells her like, yeah, they gave me a gun, and you know, she's like, okay, we still on for tomorrow night or tonight? We're going on a date? Yeah. Which I still can't tell if she's genuine or not.
Yeah.
No. I did see someone on TikTok point out, they were like, Lisa is objectively the most famous person on this show. Like, in terms of she's part of Blackpink. She's perhaps not in like Western circles. She's not as perhaps prestigious as a Parker Posey, but she is incredibly famous.
Yeah.
So getting her on the show, they would have had to give her something, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so there has to be some. It can't just be like she's a hot girl at the thingy.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
There
if it's
has
just
to
a
be
role
a
that
moment.
like a total like
Yeah.
Rob Carlton's character, you know, just
Right.
like bit of screen time, but fairly inconsequential.
Yeah. So it's like, so it is something's got to be happening,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it can't be just like she's hot and at the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
is
yeah.
famous in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is Thai, so like,
Yeah.
you know, make like,
Yeah.
but yeah, Guy Talk does go to the gun range, and he's like a fucking ice cold killer. Like, he's a really good shot. He's getting bullseyes, and yeah, it kind of closes off because like his manager is like, are you really going to be able to like use that on like a person if it comes down to it? Have like one more shot. And
Which again, I'm like, for a car park security guard.
Yeah.
Are we really? Is there many situations we have to gun down a person?
Yeah.
It's not war.
It is an odd
Yeah.
thing for his like.
Well, we
Obviously,
don't know where he's come from before this
That's
job.
true.
That's true. I guess his manager wants him to at least appear threatening to a potential, because they got, they had robbers come through.
Yeah.
But
They had some crooks come through.
Yeah. some diamond thieves.
Yeah, some cat burglars.
Yes. But he looks pretty focused.
Yeah.
He looks pretty locked in. I don't know if he is or not. His character certainly has been very wishy-washy so far.
Very focused on that Lisa.
Yeah, but
And can
we'll
I
see.
ask, during this scene, was there anything in particular that that made Bridget be like?
What was Bridget be like in this moment?
I was about to say Bridget was like. I'm like, no.
No.
No. I must stick.
Yeah.
It must be the same.
It has to be
Yeah.
to BBL. The Bridget be like. Nah, she might have been checking her phone in this scene.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's it. That was Guy Talk. That was
Yeah.
Mook's character.
Yeah.
So meanwell, let's get into Belinda.
Oh, man.
She's gotten
Ugh.
dipped the fuck
Yeah.
down.
Speaking of getting into Belinda, poor Chai.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Beautiful moment where afterwards Pawn Shy's like, you've talked about opening your own spa,
Yes.
and maybe we could do that together. We could do that here in Thailand. And you can just see she's already been through it with Tanya. She
Yeah.
doesn't want to get hurt again. She's like, maybe.
I was Ben be like, he clingy.
Yeah, is this love bombing?
This is
next day.
This
Yeah.
is a lot.
Let's open a sauna together.
Move
Yeah.
to Thailand.
Yeah.
Move countries
Yeah.
and let's
Yeah.
start a small business together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've rooted once.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I didn't think of it her being like, oh, I've literally been hurt before in this exact same situation.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, like okay, Poncho, just
Yeah.
cool your jets a little bit.
Yeah.
But man, he's gotten some of that resort strange, and he is just.
Another on
strange. Oh my god.
like
Ben be like, does he do this a lot? Does he fuck all the guests?
They must be fucking.
Yeah.
I get because like,
Single guy, like
Single
resort
guy.
in Thailand.
but a
Yeah.
place like that, you would think because. So her son rocks up
Zion.
earlier
Zion.
than
Yeah.
she was expecting, and the staff member is with him, like carrying his bag, and sort of notices this and is discreet. I guess he's lying in a way where he wouldn't have clocked who it was. But you would
Yes.
think a place like that would have a pretty strict, like, no fraternizing with the guests.
yeah. Well, she's staff, right? Kind of.
Yeah, she's kind
Oh,
of
that's a
on
good point.
she's
yeah.
like secondment
no, that's
or
a good
whatever.
point. So I guess
Yeah.
it's like a No, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, my
And it
only...
happens all the time on Below Deck. The fucking,
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
that's
they fucking
true.
each other.
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah. You know
Yeah.
what else happens? The brothers be fucking.
Yeah.
Brothers be like jerking each other
Oh,
off.
that's a great edit if you did a below deck. The like
Yes.
the New Zealand bird. You just have
Yeah.
opening the door.
Oh my god! I can't believe it.
You're doing uncest.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get Lauren to look out for a good scene in
Yeah,
below deck that we
nice.
could splice that footage into.
Okay, I will say
Yes.
my little conspiracy theory alarm went off because the way Ponchai is lying on Belinda, face down, body face down, away, back up, is the same way that the body appears to Zion. So Zion sees, first time he sees Ponchai is like that, and then is the second time he sees
That's
Ponchai
good.
like that in the water.
That's good. I like that a lot.
Yep.
Let's put that up on the conspiracy whiteboard.
It's just like, because I was like, that doesn't seem like a comfortable way to sleep.
No.
I mean, maybe it is. Face and titties. Maybe.
Yeah, a couple of dirty
Yeah.
pillows.
Insane magic. The British boys are in the house.
Because isn't it funny like having this like whole thing be about like weird sexual family dynamics, and then
Right.
I kind of love it that the son comes in, she's embarrassed, and he's just like, I'm just happy my mum's getting some.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
As weird as that is, like I literally in that position, I would be going and stealing that gun out of Guy Talk's drawer and shooting myself
Yeah.
in the head.
Yeah.
Wearing my Deakin University
Yeah.
dropout jumper that they
Yeah.
gave me.
Yep.
But yeah, the son just being like, single mum, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. But then
They
he-
weren't actively rooting as
Yeah.
he went
No.
in the door.
But then he
so-
makes some comment about, so he's like, what does he say? He's like, oh, I'm glad someone in the family's getting some. And she's like, I'm your mum. I don't want to hear this.
Yeah.
And it's like, he just saw your tits fucking 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
You're getting motorboated.
Yeah. But he's like, I don't know. He's very wholesome. He's like, I'm just a college boy.
Yeah.
Visiting my mum.
He's so like photogenic.
Oh,
Yeah.
That
insane.
actor is so like just his face. I'm just like
He smiled and I smiled.
Yeah, the way the light hits his fucking cheekbones. I'm like,
Yeah.
if this man. I mean, I don't think he dies, right? Because he's the reveal of the body. Like he's the one who finds the body in the water.
No, it's not him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if he dies,
Bridget
I'm
be
gonna
like,
take that
Ben,
gun.
can you leave the room for a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to imagine he's my big brother right now.
Oh Lord! So
The
yeah,
dog
that's-
is fully cleared, by the way.
Yeah.
The dog's like, I don't want any
can't
part of this.
handle
You
this.
can't have me.
And
on-
honestly, it is very distracting because I'm worried. Like, what's he fucking doing in the rest of the house?
Oh,
Now he'll be
no.
fine. He's probably just gone to sleep.
Yeah.
So
With his little paws over his ears.
He's like,
Yeah.
la 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 la.
yeah. So that's where we kind of end up with her. Yeah, she's
Yep.
got.
Think
He's
so, yeah.
he's like kind of not putting the hard word on her, but
Oh.
definitely being like,
No.
oh,
Gary
oh
runs
yes, of
into
course,
her.
yes.
Yes.
And is like, she's like, ah!
Yeah.
He'd be scary. And yeah, he's like, we're having a little shindig. You want to come up?
Yeah. I really want to talk to you.
Yeah. And she's like, maybe my son's here. And yeah, he's like, no, I think we have something to talk about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
she's fucking gonna get killed by
Yeah.
him. She's gonna get killed before the end of the season.
Bloody hell.
So then we've got the girlies.
Yes.
It's the
Incredible.
morning
Oh,
after,
yeah.
just
Yeah.
a little solo.
Bridget be like, these fucking mean girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Laurie.
Yes.
Yes.
They're-
Well, Kate sees Valentin. She gets up early she's on a phone call.
Oh yes. Yeah.
She sees Valentin leaving Jacqueline's room
Mhm.
early in the morning. She pieces it together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jacqueline and Valentin have rooted.
And
They've
she
rotted.
thinks, oh, I've got
Brother
some
style.
goss. I've got some goss, some hot goss to bring to the breakfast table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's meeting at the red table.
Yeah. So they sit down and she's like, hey, get a load of... Which she then, you know, passes off as like, oh, I thought this was funny.
Yeah.
It's insane
Yeah.
because she's seen all the interactions leading up to this with like
Yeah.
Jacqueline telling Laurie she should pursue him.
Yeah.
It's insane
Is-
that she doesn't get that, like...
Is
It
she
would be
that naive?
upsetting.
Is she?
Okay,
I don't know.
I think maybe I was in a situation recently where someone gave me a bit of information and they were like, isn't that funny? And I was like, I'm gonna go kill this person.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's what? And I'm like, I'm literally calling them now in front of you to tell them to go fuck themselves.
Yeah,
And
Wow.
she was like, my friend was like, no, it's I just was telling you because it's funny. I'm like, I've already planned
Yeah.
this murder and I
Yeah.
have
yeah,
to
yeah,
do
okay.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe sometimes people are just like, because the information's already been processed, you know?
Yeah.
Like she's on the phone with someone, she maybe got to talk it out on the phone. It's like, isn't that crazy? And then she's already processed it, not realizing that the first time you hear that information, you're going to have a very strong emotional
Yeah.
reaction
Yeah,
to
you
it.
feel the person that had a bit of a connection with them. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
like obviously we have seen them sort of do mean girl shit to each other.
Yeah.
I bought Kate being like, oh no, I literally just thought it was like a funny, like I
Yeah.
did not understand how this would
Yeah.
impact you.
Yeah.
But it impacts her hard,
Yeah.
and she's
And the way
fucked off
she-
the whole fucking episode.
The way she plays it too, of like, no, I just think it's funny.
Yeah,
I just think it's funny.
yeah.
yeah.
Don't get upset. I
Yeah.
just think it's funny.
Yeah, so yeah, Laurie's really pissed off. Later on they're at the pool. Oh, and also we see Jacqueline kind of wake up hungover, gets the phone call from
Oh, yes.
the
Husband?
Husband?
Yeah.
Yeah.
being like, yeah, you know, I was just on set, my phone died.
Yep.
Oh, it's been crazy here.
Yeah. I really
Uh,
miss you.
Yeah.
I hope you haven't been fucking around on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you haven't fucked anyone that you were trying to set your friend up with.
Yeah.
That'd be really bad.
Yeah.
That'd be whack.
Be really
Yeah.
specific, but
Yeah.
yeah. So then, yeah, they're all around the pool, and Laurie just starts going in.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, how'd you go last night?
Mm.
And she's just denying it, digging her heels in,
Yeah.
will not cop to it.
Yeah.
She's throwing Kate under the bus.
Yeah. Oh, well,
being like,
Kate
she
saw you.
Yeah.
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 Loved
yeah.
it. And this is pretty much all we see of them, right? Just this?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Valentine comes over.
yeah.
Yeah. Laurie is like, yeah, I don't need anything from you today.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm just gonna stay. I don't want to go to the Muay Thai. I'm just gonna stay here.
And
Yeah.
she's really like, this is the same kind of shit. You know, it's just interesting how people don't change. This is kind of what happened when we were in 10th grade. She's always been the same.
I love
Yeah.
Jacqueline being like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that means.
And just really being like, she's an aging actress. It's just embarrassing that she carries on like this.
Yeah. Obviously, completely justified for Laurie to be upset. She maybe toes over the line a little bit with that one.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's like a part of the sort of resentment or whatever, like the issues they have as a dynamic. But she's getting a little mean, which I think I would be more mean than
Yeah,
that,
she's dogs the
personally.
boys.
She's
Yeah.
absolutely dog and boys.
Yes.
It reminded me of, have you ever heard of or seen a play called Secret Bridesmaids Business? It's like 90s Australian play.
No.
They kind of make you study it at high school
Oh, sure.
as like the one play that's for women. They're like, oh yeah, you chicks get this one. And it's
Yeah.
basically about 3 bridesmaids, and it's a similar thing of one of them's fucked the groom, one of them's fucking the other person's partner. Like it's that kind of
Right.
thing. And the dynamics of high school kind of still being present,
Right.
and the
Yeah.
and the way these kind of small ways that women do peck at hen pecking, I guess. And
Isn't it fucked that when you're at school and you hate it towards the end of high school and it's like the narrative is like, hey, just get through these next couple of years and then you're out.
Yeah.
And then this is
Yeah.
all done.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
it's forever.
Yeah.
It's
the
actually
Fucking
forever.
It's such a lie. Just ignore the bullies at school because then you go out in the real world and they have absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
anything, it's good to be bullied at school because it prepares you for
Yes.
the real fucking world.
Yeah, it's a
Because
nice-
it never ends.
Yeah, it's a nice low stakes introduction.
Right.
I would say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's someone around who you can tell
Yeah.
and something will actually happen.
And you're
Yeah.
a child, so people care.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
as you get older,
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're on your own.
yeah, and your own, it be your own friends.
Yeah.
You don't rely on the bully for some kind of like financial stake in your life.
Yeah.
There's no consequences to
Yeah,
speaking
yeah.
up.
You don't
Yeah.
inadvertently get in a relationship with one, or
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Own property together. That you have to
yeah,
Yeah. But then, so the other thing, because Laurie's just dropping bombs, she's also like, to Kate, like, well, I'm just a bit more honest than you. So I can't, and then she's like, realizes like, oh, I've just called her like a two-faced bitch, basically.
yeah.
So yeah, they're exploding. Their
Yeah.
dynamic is going off like
Yeah.
fireworks.
Yeah.
Oh, a Barney on a holiday. A fucking rite of passage.
Fuck.
I'm really trying to think of like a friends trip that like
Mm.
it's so hard to go on holiday as friends and come back as friends.
Because
you got to put the work in.
The
Yeah.
stakes
Oh,
are
yeah.
so high as well. In the lead up, it's like you talk about it for months. You're like, you're excited. It's like everything at work and whatever. You're like, just got to get through this. And then you build it
Yes.
up as like it's going to be a utopian existence
Yeah.
for 5 days. And so it's like any mild little thing of like, that person fucked someone I was vaguely interested in
Yeah.
but hadn't
Yep.
done anything about yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
This is the worst week of my life.
We're never gonna be friends again.
So that's all
yeah.
happening.
That's
and,
happening.
We get a little bit. Based on last week, kind of thought we might get a bit more Goggins, but
yeah.
he's in Bangkok.
He's looking fresh as fuck, I have to say.
Yeah, the fits are incredible.
Yeah, he's got
Yeah.
he's got his all white suit on.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. That's
Yeah.
the idea of yourself you have when you go to Southeast Asia. It's
Yes.
this white linen,
Totally.
looking like beautiful, like wind through the hair. Looking,
Yeah.
not too done, but not too messy. And
Yeah.
then you get to Southeast Asia and you're in your white linen and it's orange because you've sweated. through
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
You're
It's not
like
ironed.
you're just
Yeah.
stinky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None
yeah.
of these people look stinky enough. That's my one criticism.
No,
Except Saxon this episode. He
Yes.
looks
Yeah.
stinky.
Yes. You can
But-
only be stinky on film when you're hungover. Otherwise, you
Yeah.
have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's met with Sritala
Yep.
at the expensive restaurant and is like, "Yep, I completely forgot this whole storyline of the movie thing, but he's manipulating her again."
And it's funny, the first time a few episodes ago we see him do this and we were remarking on like he's just in the pocket. Like
Yeah.
he plays it so well. This time I felt like he doesn't really do that good of a job of it
No.
at all.
Right.
Like, you
Yeah.
did that first time, you're like, I would not see through the cracks if I was her.
Yeah.
This time you're like, what movie? He didn't say.
Yeah, he
a
said
lot
he's
of them.
writing it.
Yeah.
He's writing, and it's based on you, but he doesn't know me.
yeah.
But he wants to.
Yeah.
It's
like,
a really big movie.
Yeah, it's a big Hollywood
Yeah,
production.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think she does see through it a
Seems
bit.
to.
Yeah.
Seems to be a little sus, definitely.
but still invites them to the house.
Yeah.
So he goes to see his old friend, one of the great lady boys, Sam Rockwell.
Yeah. Frank.
To ask him
One
to...
of our greatest Asian actresses,
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell.
It's Lisa and then Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
He goes to him and is like, look, I need you to pretend to be this director. I need a
Yeah.
favor.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know, man. It just sounds like
I'm not in that life anymore.
don't really
Yeah.
want to
We
do that
heard
shit.
what kind of life I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not this
Remember?
one.
I'm a
Yeah.
lover, not a fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, I'm not going to kill him. He's like, but you did ask me to get you a gun. So it
Yeah.
certainly does seem like you're at least going to threaten to kill him.
Yeah.
Which is still too much for me, but he convinces him to do it.
Yeah.
He gets his little director fit on. He's
Yes.
got his
Yeah.
little cap.
Yeah.
Bomber jacket.
Bomber
So
jacket,
good.
cap, and black
He's
shirt.
gone on to
It's
at
so
director
good.
fits on Instagram.
Yes.
The baseball cap.
I
the-
was like looking at it. I'm like, which director is that? Do we reckon? I think it's PTA. I think it's Paul Thomas Anderson.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah,
90s vibes.
I was maybe younger Johnny Fav. John Favreau.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck, that'd be great if trying to get Sritala in for like
Chef
Night
2.
at the Roxbury.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that's the last kind of bit we see of the episode is just him.
They rock up on the speedboat. And,
Yeah.
And they're heading into the
Beautiful
house.
speedboat too.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
walk into the house. Do you see? I don't think you see the guy, do you? You just
You
hear.
don't see
No.
you hear him. Yeah,
you hear
yeah.
him greet them, and you kind of just see this pan around to Gog, being like, "Here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we fucking
The
go.
man who killed my father.
Yeah.
Or is
Michael
my
Caine.
father. Oh. Hello, Walton.
And-
As it turns out, I'm actually your dad.
the other thing we kind of miss is that at one point Fabian, the manager,
yes.
goes to Belinda and he goes, "I hope you're feeling better." Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, nothing's changed.
yeah,
So.
Yeah.
and she's like, "No,"
Yeah.
and he is actually performing that
He's
night
booked
at
a
the
gig.
restaurant.
Yeah. He's-
Date night at the White Lotus that night, and if you don't want to go to the Mai Tai, you go see Fabian
Yep.
doing
Yep.
some songs.
Yep. Or
Yep.
you head up
While
the hill to get
Shrital is
murdered.
away, the Fabian shall
Yes.
slay.
Yeah.
I still don't understand why. Like a lot of the people online hate Fabian. I'm like, he's fucking great.
Well, he's a bloody Nazi. That's
Yeah,
why.
I think
Well,
that's
yeah.
why.
I don't know
think
if
they're
you've seen
being-
a little movie
yeah.
called.
That's why
What
I
do
like.
we-
No,
yeah.
That's why I like the actor. Like, what
He said, that's why I like him.
What do we think he's going to sing? An original, or maybe he's going to get up and do "Let's Get Retarded" by the Black Eyed Peas?
Oh.
I will
I-
say you do get that in South Asia, right? It's like you get the full,
Yeah.
unedited mixes.
Yeah, I've been.
I'm sure
I
of
feel like I've been in a bar or cafe and heard the opening bars and been like,
Yeah.
"Oh, cool," and then gotten into the first lyric and gone, "Oh, all right,
Okay, yeah, great.
Sure.
I guess this is probably the top of the essentials mix on Spotify."
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear an original,
Yeah.
a sweet original
Yeah.
from Fabian. But yeah, I think he's very funny. And
Yeah.
is that all of we've done? We've covered
I think
everything.
we've gone. That's
Yeah,
everyone. Yeah,
that's
the
everyone.
whole mob.
Good
Yeah.
ep. Do you like that ep, you guys?
Yeah, I love the tension is so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're about to get into Severance, but like,
I didn't realize there were only 2 left. I thought there were 3.
yeah,
but
same.
Yeah. No. At least when I looked on, I think it was Wiki or IMDb. It was. 'Cause
Wrongfacts.com.
I feel, yeah, Snopes. I didn't check the rest of the article.
One of the great urban legends. There's 8 episodes of White Lotus season 3.
Yeah, it's only going up to 8 on the Google preview and stuff like
okay.
that.
Yeah.
Because I think the first season was 6 episodes, the second was 7, and this is 8. I
Right.
think it's just kind of which is
Yeah.
crazy to think the first one was only 6.
Yeah.
But I love the shape of this season being the tension is ratcheting up towards
Yeah.
the end, and I feel like we've had kind of the inverse with Severance. We're about to get into it.
Mhm.
Yep.
But yeah, I love just it it's really like lean in watching at the moment.
Yeah.
White Lotus.
Yeah.
You really can't miss anything, any detail. You can't really be scrolling on your phone.
I know. Yeah.
Because like something is going on constantly.
And
Totally.
especially like I really like the last episode. It felt like we saw a fair bit of Goggins, and the whole thing was like, okay, he's in Bangkok, and then that like that monologue obviously like really just stole people's attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're sort of going like, oh, okay, well, yeah, we're building to this confrontation that he's going to have. And then this episode, it's like, yeah, we don't really see all that much of him because we're busy dealing with the fallout of actual incest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just this like kind of, and even just like the constant things of, the first couple of episodes were really dominated by Tim being on the phone and you learning more and more about how fucked he is. And then now it's just like, he truly, even though I don't think he's going to do it, but he does feel like he is in that real calm thing that people talk about before you take your own life, of just like sort of acceptance of just like him just being like, oh, well, yeah, I'm completely fucked.
Yeah.
What
It
can
is
be done
literally
about
out
it?
of my hands.
Yeah. I'm medicating. What more can I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, aside from like, that big monologue from the monk about death, there is also sort of the idea of letting go of pain and letting go of that, sense of self and identity, and, releasing the suffering and like maybe he's going to lean more towards that, like you say, an acceptance, but also an ability to let go of the pain. So who knows?
So next step, we're going to get Piper and Lachlan staying at the monastery. We're going to get Gary's little party.
Yep.
We're going to get
Fabian's
performance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're going to get Gog meeting this guy at the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good little mix of stuff going on.
Absolutely. I think very well paced. Like you say, some episodes focus more on, certain storylines than others, but I feel like I'm not sitting there frustrated about missing any particular thing.
Or that we're stuck in anything too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get
Having
into
said that.
Yeah.
let's get into the season finale.
Yeah.
Of Severance.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Where to start, really?
Yeah.
It was a big one, obviously.
Long one.
Long
I
app.
think-
A lot of shit going down.
Broad thoughts. Overall, I enjoyed it. Thinking about the season as a whole, I don't think I have ever seen such an inconsistent season of television. Like the highs were some of the best shit of any show.
Yeah.
And then these just like incredibly frustrating lows. Either like when you get a show that is truly cooking, it's like everything is just great.
Yeah.
Like an entire season is just like
Yeah.
banger after banger after banger, and everything feels so deliberate. Or you're watching a show, 4 seasons in, being like, these pricks have just absolutely lost their way. To have kind of a season where like both of those things are happening like one episode after the next is sort of bizarre.
Yeah. I as a 1 hour and 12 minute film, I enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it more than The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which is Ben Stiller's other thing that he directed.
Yeah.
I'll say I enjoyed it more than that. As a episode of television, great. Had fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? Entertaining.
I do feel like this
Do you
whole...
want to go through it a little
Yeah.
beat by beat? Because there's not like, it's kind of, there's sort of two parts to it, really.
Yeah.
I think.
I think just generally, though, I do feel like it just seemed like symptomatic of a show that's too hemmed in by its own choices. That they made all these choices and then they couldn't get out of it.
Yeah, and even where it ends, not to jump ahead, but I feel like that as an ending in a show that had been more consistent, that I had a bit more confidence in, I'd be like, all right, I'm interested to see what they do with this.
Yeah.
But with how they've played things in this season, and even like the fallout from the cliffhanger of last season, I just am like thinking about it as on the whole, ending season 1 with being like, she's alive, and then spending all this time being like, yeah, who was he talking about?
Yeah.
And looking back on it, I kind of feel like it's like, I mean, you'd know who he's talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that frustrating thing where obviously you've got to have characters act in a realistic way, but it is always so frustrating when we, the audience, know, because it's a bit like, don't spend too much time having them just fucking chase their tails, because it's like you've set us up of this thing of like, oh, the shit's going to hit the fan now, but then be like, well, that's not really how it would happen, because you think about like they wouldn't know who he's talking about. It's like,
and same thing with reintegration. It's
yeah.
like, well, you
Oh my God. Yeah.
you set it up like we shouldn't be sitting there after an episode being like, oh, I mean, sure, like as a story, it would have been very satisfying to have some forward momentum, but I guess scientifically maybe it would take a long it's like, no, it's a story, so if you introduce this element and then touch on it, there's a episode where they're like, let's speed it up, and then when it would be otherwise, like when it would be crucial to the way the story wraps up at the end of the season, you just go like, actually it's not done yet, so don't worry about that. Yeah, we spent 10 episodes building it up, but maybe next season.
Yeah.
Just an odd choice to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, even like the birthing suite being this like huge thing in this episode, and even like last episode them going there.
The idea of birth in this fucking show.
Yeah.
Just generally in the opening credits, babies.
Yeah.
Babies.
Yeah.
Hang on, can you guys both just give me a bit of a just check your chords?
Hello.
Yeah.
Is it me? Am I fucking around?
Is it happening? Is it you?
I can't tell where it's coming from. It's not too bad. It's very slight. I think it's okay now.
Hello.
Yeah, no, we're all good.
Cool.
Yeah, this place where you can go to have this dialogue between so you have this way of being able to access the innie, and just kind of going like, oh, even though we've done the reintegration still hasn't really worked yet. So we'll go to this birthing suite. And it's like, why weren't we going to the birthing suite like as soon as he went, she's alive?
Yeah.
Why aren't you immediately going, oh, let's try and sneak you into the birthing suite so that we can, like, you've got this device there, and then it's just used like sort of at the last minute. And like, I will say, this scene of the innie and outie Mark talking to each other, I really enjoyed it.
I fucking hated it.
Really?
I found it so tedious.
Yeah, okay.
I think it went on way too long.
It did go for a long time.
I thought it was kind of naff.
Yeah, I
The
don't
way
know.
they frame it up with one sitting in one chair, one sitting in the other, one's in blue light, one's in red light. Like, I just was like, oh, man, this is like
Oh, interesting.
really like, I found it on the nose.
Oh, yeah. It was not subtle at all.
No.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I thought it was interesting the way they kind of solved that problem, but then I think it stayed in it too long, and also they're not differentiated enough from each other to make it feel like there's any stake here.
Yeah,
truly.
I liked it. I felt like, to me, it was like as good of a job as you could do of something that on paper is so dumb. Like, this guy's talking to himself. Like, yeah, how do you solve that problem? And
Feels like Gollum in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah. But even within that, again, just the whole fact of it being this other layer of the birthing suite, and then the way he's pitching the reintegration, where then he goes, "Oh, I haven't finished doing it yet. Like I still have to do the rest of it." It's like, what? You know what I mean? Like, did we have that information? Like, again, you set this thing up, and then it just is all these things that seem to be dotted in conveniently when they need to just kind of like explain why this isn't like he just has all the memories yet. Yeah. And it's a bit like, it does feel like a show that is being literally made week to week. Like a network show where all of a sudden you're like, oh, we've got to sort of reverse engineer this, so we'll just sort of invent this science behind it. I saw something on Twitter that was like, why didn't he just go, like, Outie Mark is so stupid, like, oh, Innie Mark going, I don't believe in this reintegration. Like, I learnt about it from Petey, your best friend.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, why does that not come up? Why does that guy not get mentioned at all in this season?
I found it a very frustrating conversation, because I know a lot of the whole point of this show is like, are the innies people? What constitutes a person? You know, like, should they have agency, or like they have agency? Should they have like the right to live, essentially? But I really, by the end of this season, I was just more and more like, no, it's one person. with a little bunch of memories that they
Yeah.
can access. Like,
Yeah.
The conflict of like, does any Mark have like the right to live? It's just like, it's the same person.
Yeah.
He just doesn't. He just basically, it's a person who has amnesia.
You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
You know?
And
Yeah,
being
and
like, oh, but I'm in love with her, and it's like,
Yeah.
but the argument of her, it's like she's an Egan, she will be turned off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like once she leaves that building,
Yes.
there's nothing that can happen there or will happen there
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
And
So-
she's been designed to manipulate you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she's there as a tool of manipulation for you.
Yes.
And you know that.
Yeah.
Because that happened in the innie world.
Yeah,
You saw
yeah.
what happened to Irving. I just am like, I just don't think yeah.
And I just
Ah.
it kind of is a bit of a stretch to go like I kind of did like the way it was done where he's like he cracks it and he's like if I log on again and I'm back in the birthing suite, I'm gonna go like I'd better be fucking back in Lumen.
Yeah.
And I liked the way that was done, where then you just cut to, and I kind of liked that we didn't see the discussion outside of like, okay, well, what are we going to do here? I liked all
Right.
that, but
Because he has the bargaining power at that point. So it's
yeah,
like, I
but
guess
it
we
is
fucking
just
do it.
like you've had this conversation with him where he's not agreeable at all, and like, would you take that risk? You know what I mean? Like, would you end up going, all right, well, I guess I'd better show up there and hope
Yeah.
for the best?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you know that, like, Milchek is probably, like, he would have his kind of radar up a little bit
Yeah.
by the way that you've talked to him on the phone of, like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to come in and all that stuff. Like, this plan of, like, I'll go in and just hope for the best. I don't know. I guess you don't really have many options, but...
I just am
Yeah.
also like, but then also, again, you've got a hole in the back of your head from where you started reintegrating. Like, is that really like the last? I don't know. Yeah.
Or why don't you just go and fully do the like him going, we need to get her out.
Yeah.
We need to finish. It's like once the work is finished, they'll
Yeah.
kill her.
Yeah.
We'll take another day off.
Yeah.
Finish the reintegration.
Yeah.
And then it can
And
just
then
be
we
you
go.
in there.
Yeah.
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 Yes, because like literally they've said it many, many times. Once the file is done, she will be dead. Whatever that constitutes. Like if it's the personality will be erased or whatever. We also don't, I think, technically know that. Just don't finish the file.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't go back to work.
Just don't go back to work.
Yeah.
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 It is funny. I had a friend who worked at not Raytheon, but like
Oh yeah.
like a weapons manufacturer.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said the way that these places are designed is that everyone works on one part of these big things. So like he works on, say, like an algorithm. He doesn't work there anymore before I get fucking
Yeah.
blow darted by the CIA. But the way it's done is that this one person works on this one mechanism and they
Right.
don't know
Right.
how it fits into something. And
Yeah.
then the person in the next thing over, and it's all kind of vacuum sealed from
Yeah.
each other. And I'm just like, well, yeah. So then if you're working on the trigger and you know it's probably going into a bomb, don't go into work.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
just like,
And this, I gotta
Yeah.
say, again, like we were talking about this last week, I don't need everything answered for me. I like there being some mystery and stuff. But this show, the way it presents itself, it's wanting you to care. It's wanting you to want the answers. It really did feel like it was being made in a way that was threading you along and being like, you will get it. I don't know. There was everything about the design of it felt like it was telling you that at a certain point you would find this stuff out.
yeah.
And it
And
would
for-
mean something and you'd care about it.
Yeah,
And-
and in a satisfying way. Even if not everything's answered, something's done in a even just the end of season 1.
Yeah.
It didn't give us everything, but it was like a satisfying
Totally.
episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
I felt like this reveal of like what the numbers mean in relation to Gemma, it felt like the Helly reveal where it's like, do you think we hadn't clocked that already? It's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's like the numbers represent her in the things, and it's like, yeah.
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 But why?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
not. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the. Like,
Why are
giving
you
us-
guys doing this? Why
like
have
reading
they-
these things
yeah.
where
Yeah.
people are like, yeah, it really answered the questions. I'm like, that wasn't a question that I had. Like,
And
it was
also,
like again, it's like, it's the reveal that of Helly actually being Helena in
Yeah.
F3. It was like, Do you think that we hadn't clocked that? Because it felt like you had set us up to just like obviously figure that out. And that's how this felt with everything with that Gemma episode. It's like, yeah, you've shown us that.
Yeah.
This isn't giving us an answer. This is just...
Or it's similar, like with the whole Cobell episode and her having invented the Severance chip. It's like, okay, so you've told us that, but why do we care about that now?
Oh, man,
that didn't seem to play into this.
That not factoring it, that being a whole episode, and that not factoring in at all, it's like... Oh, great, that's going to come up in episode 8 of season 3.
Right.
Like, I don't care when that's the third last episode of this season.
Yeah.
Show that in flashback or show that when it's like going to be relevant.
It gives a little bit of nuance to Miss Huang, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, it's just like, oh, that's sad that she's probably had a similar kind of life.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
See
off
ya.
she goes.
Like, yeah. And then,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just also feel like my questions about Gemma were like, okay, so then he, like, ID'd someone's body when she died. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
Why them? Why those
Why
two?
her?
Yeah.
Why him? What makes
Yeah.
him an excellent candidate?
And again, you don't need to answer all of these, but treating that information they gave us as like the big bombshell, it's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
Why was Rickon's book so heavy in this
Yeah.
season and then nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did Lumen show up to Rickon's house?
Yeah.
For the book? Why is Devon like so entrenched in this, but then also doesn't seem to have any agency other than like, come on, Mark, just do it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, her character is like, my shithead husband's done this again.
Yeah.
Mark, can you please just fucking do
Yeah.
the thing? Like,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
Regabi just gone.
Yeah.
Like, had
Yeah.
a disagreement with
Yeah.
her. Just not.
The whole thing about the senator having, it's one of the senator's babies.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that kind of, I'm sure that'll be what season 3 is about or whatever. But
Maybe,
it's just like, I said it last time, but I think this is just setting us up for Son of the Mask. Like, I just feel like...
And I got to say, and again, I did enjoy watching this episode. There was stuff in there that I really liked. I've got to say, over the course of the, 4 days after watching it, I've kind of soured on the marching band a little bit.
Yeah.
It does feel like...
I hated it at the time.
It feels like it's stylistically, it kind of, it's like interesting in a sound design sense and the like the level of tension it gives everything going on. But it just feels like seeing like the cast and crew did this talk and they set up, Tramell.
the Paley Center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he comes in leading a marching band. I feel like there's just a lot of stuff in the show now that is like, I don't know. The first season did feel, even though it's very high concept, still very grounded. And the goats was like the one, just this weird thing in there. But all the rest of it is like, but then now there's just all this stuff that is just like, there's a whole department that sit around as a marching band.
Choreography and
just
merriment.
this stuff that just kind of seems a little bit ready to go as like a meme. Almost like it's just so baiting the online engagement where it's like, I just don't buy that this would be like, why is there a full, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh no, they just sit there and they're ready to go when they finish the file. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of, there's been a few things this season that have been surreal in ways that I don't feel like the show was sort of doing before.
I
It's
think
kind of pushing it into just being like complete Twin Peaks territory.
Yeah.
That like,
Billy's Twin Peaks was like, we're oogly boogly spookly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you can't
yeah.
pin us to anything, baby. It's
Yeah,
jazz.
yeah.
Whereas this is like, well, you see, but of course, because we pointed at this in this episode.
Yeah,
Da-da-da-da-da. And that's the kind of TV you like.
The bit when the marching band puts up the cards and it's Mark's face to the ceiling.
Yeah.
that annoyed me.
It's like, this is literally fan service.
Yeah,
Like, this
no,
is
you're right.
just for the audience
No
at
one
home.
can see that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'd forgotten that. That really bothered me in the exact same way. It's like, where's the
who's this for?
Where's this
Yeah,
camera?
yeah.
This isn't a
Yeah.
POV. This is like in the roof.
Yeah, yeah.
Of this closed off environment.
Yeah.
POV, you're a rat in the Lumen Center.
Yeah. Getting the show of your life.
Yeah. I think it's just it just has been a show that's lumbering under its own stylistic choices and its a decision to be clever.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking that like every shot in this, I was like, man, if this was a movie, I would be like, wow, like I love the aesthetic of this. Like, oh, it's so interesting the way that they've like the color design on this stuff. The fact that Helly's wearing green this episode rather than a blue, and like that means something. And like also I think Gemma wears green at some point.
Right.
And so it's like I like that these kind of symbols mean something. But if you've just got like symbol after symbol, it's just hieroglyphics. It's like, okay, this is not a language I speak. This is not, this doesn't, I can't discern any meaning from anything now because it's just so littered with information everywhere.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's hard to really like lose yourself in the immersion of this world when you're thinking about the like symbolism, when you know like the heavy, and as you say with the like flipping over of the cards, like it's your two. Yeah, you're watching it as almost like it's like you're studying it in media studies, like the filmmaking side of it, more than being like completely lost in the world of it. Like it is a show that is, and obviously we're in the position of like, you know, making ourselves talk about it more in depth. But I do feel like the cracks and the like the seams are so visible in it. Like, I feel like in any good show, it is just, you can give something maybe like a bit of the benefit of the doubt, or you can justify it, but there are so many things in this of like, why are they standing around having to wait for Cover of Darkness to go? You know, like, why would she be so gung-ho about calling Cobell? There just are so many things in this season that have been like, this just needed another pass. This just doesn't try. And I'm someone who... Like, I admittedly watched it long after the fact, so I was not coming to it with the same weight of expectation. But Game of Thrones, getting up to those bits where people were like, these characters are acting in ways that are against their... And it's like, it all tracked for me. It was like, this person's just kind of losing their mind, and so they're making bad calls. And like, people said the same thing about that last season of Succession and Kieran Culkin's character. It's like, he's fucking going through some shit. So he's acting like a fuckhead because he's like not processing... Like... I'm like, that isn't a character act. Like, it's like people do act erratically in the real world.
Yeah.
But this show has a lot of stuff where it's like, this just doesn't really make sense why you would do this other than the convenience of just, we need to string this out for an app. We can't have this just happen now.
I feel like innies probably do have some sense that their life is just The Office. Like, I think Dylan's whole story arc this season has been like, my life is just this. Yeah. And that's it. And so this,
like, that stuff is interesting with him and his wife, but what purpose did it serve in the?
I think it's like meant to like underline. So then Mark struggles because like the innie Mark said, like he's like, but I love my life in here. Essentially, like I feel like, and I'm just like, but all of these innies, they're not babies. Like they are aware that they only exist in this one space. Yeah. So then for that innie to be like, I don't know, for that to be the conflict, like of their episode is like, this to me, I'm like, it's not important enough to put the brakes on everything.
This girl that you're in love with outside lied to you about your wife being dead and are holding her hostage. Now, I know you love the version of her inside, but she assaulted you.
Inside she assaulted you.
And like, there's no world where you can stay locked in. But as it turns out, yes, there is.
Well, so that was the thing. Like I said before, if this was like a film... If it was like a 2.5 hour film even, where you set up like, there's this guy, Mark, his wife died, he's grief-stricken, and so he takes this job where, hey, crazy concept, you get severed into a work self and a home self, and then you get to know the other characters there. About 2/3 of the way through, you find out that actually part of the time Helena was in there spying, and then you concoct a plan to free your wife, who you found out is alive, and at the very end, because you've bonded with Helly, you have to make a choice, and then there's a snap ambiguous ending, or the ending we got at the end of this episode. That's great. That's cool. But there's so much other shit that has gone on to like add all of these questions and logical inconsistencies and like emotional inconsistencies. It like, even like, I enjoyed the end of this episode as like a fun idea, but yes, immediately afterwards you're just like, wait a minute.
I thought it was a good end in that like there's a lot to chew on with it. But, and you know, interestingly, someone in our Discord a young man by the name of Sam
Okay.
afterwards was like,
It wasn't Nintendo?
no, not Nintendo.
Okay. It wasn't
let's
Tolkien Taters?
let's reel them all off. It wasn't Spookhoo
I
Racer.
have I still don't know what a Discord is.
These
is
are
that
our
bad?
friends, Jen.
Oh,
These are all
okay.
our friends.
These are our friends.
Hello
finger.
to the Discord.
We can get you in there if you want.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is still.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like
Is it Twitter?
It's like Slack. It's
Yeah,
just
it's
like
basically Slack.
Oh god. Okay.
Yeah.
Not
But for,
but I hate Slack. So
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's another. It
Yeah.
is another thing to keep up with. But everyone in there is cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway, in our Severance channel, I think he was saying that he had not seen that it had been renewed. He had he had assumed that this was like
The ending.
the
ending.
end.
Yeah.
And then someone
yeah.
went, "Oh, it's been renewed," and he was like, "What?" I felt like they wrapped everything up, and then this other person went, Are you mad?
Banter.
Are you mad? And then
Are you having a laugh, lad?
He kind of listed his like not arguments, but he like
The things that
the things that he was like, this is resolved, this is resolved, this is resolved, and this is kind of just open ended, but it's like we know that the innies can just be switched off, so it's like
Yeah.
this isn't gonna.
Yeah.
And because I will say that when I first read that, I was in the camp of, are you mad? Are
Oh,
you having
yeah.
a laugh?
Yeah.
But seeing him spell it all out, and the more I thought about it, I was like, actually, yeah. I mean, if this was
Yeah.
just like the end, like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone like, what? Because I just do feel like this show's capacity to just actually give you some kind of, it's like, oh yeah, it is just going to be another season of like setting up more mysteries. Oh, what's this room? What's this person do?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want another season of that.
Yeah.
Like, this
Yeah.
would have been like a kind of cool ending. Because he's right.
I think it would have been great because, yes, like we all know, like, yeah, Innie Mark has made the decision.
Any Mark be like.
Yeah, it'd be like, even if I can only have another 10 minutes with Helly, and after that, the security comes in, they drag us out,
We get deactivated.
we get deactivated, we're back to just being normal people. The romance of that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Knowing that it is limited to that time, and then after that, he also knows, like, well, I just also saved my wife. So once we're out,
I've done
It's
right
real
by
like-
Audi Mark.
yes,
And now I'm doing right by Any Mark.
and it's like a tragic sort of like, yes, we will die, but
It's
Yeah.
really
what
like.
little time we have, it's kind of beautiful, because they will leave. And then they'll go back to that, and then Gemma and Mark will be together, and she'll be like, "Your Innie was kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sacrificed.
Yeah. He
me,
made
kind
me
of."
watch while he made out with someone.
Yeah,
and I really do
and
feel.
that's it. That's the end of that fucking story,
Yeah.
right? Like that's it.
Well, okay. My whole thing with that moment is that it's very clearly Helena.
a
okay.
lot of people have been thinking it's
Because
Helena.
the look that she gives Gemma, I just think there's no reason.
A little
that-
smirk
Yeah.
Of like, see, fuck you, he's mine.
Yeah.
Like, I think,
I
and
feel
that's
like I've seen them say on Twitter that it's not. Which again, if you have to like,
who said on Twitter?
I think maybe Britt
maybe,
Lower
yeah.
was like-
Oh.
as far as I know, it's Helly.
I don't fucking trust any of these people. Though.
Yeah.
yeah.
I just feel like again, if this season had been a bit more consistent, I would be interested to see this dynamic of like, okay, they find a way to keep him in there, and now you've got this weird setup where he inside is in this relationship, outside his wife is back, or
And she's like, I want to save my husband.
he's just not coming
Yeah.
out, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
Now having to like,
Yeah.
there are interesting enough kind of
Maybe
things in the air,
he's
but
he's getting cold harbored this next season,
Yeah.
and Gemma's got to go in.
Yeah.
And
But
yeah.
I just don't know that and look, to be fair, as we've been saying, they've completely restaffed the writers' room. Does seem like there's been a lot of like behind the scenes kind of changing things around, that this was like a bit of a turbulent season to make. So
Yes.
maybe this is like, it could
it's
come good and
yeah,
sort
difficult
of enact on
second
this
album
promise, but it
kinda
just does
thing.
feel like a bit of like they back themselves into these corners, and it's not like, oh, and we could go in these directions with it. It's literally like, the end, we'll see you back at the office in 8 months' time, and then we'll try and figure out what the fuck. There just is
Yeah.
no thinking about like,
yeah.
yeah,
Because I almost feel like there was like a first half of the season direction, and then because they did like they get other staff in kind of during production, during the writing and process, I guess, actually. And those people are like, well, let's just wrap up the Irving thing. Let's close off the Innie Dylan and his wife and the Audi thing sort of story. Let's close that off. Let's not address reintegration except to say it isn't finished yet. And let's create some sort of clean ending for the Mark, Gemma, Helena thing where, yeah, like we've been saying, it's like, okay, that's a cool, ambiguous thing where if it was a film, you just fill in the rest and that's cool. Because... yeah, like Irving just kind of went away.
Irving gone.
And the Gretchen Dillon thing, she was like, I kissed you Innie. And then it has been resolved already, basically.
Yeah.
And also, like, do we believe that the Audi Dylan would be like, hey, brother, like, up to you on this one?
Actually, I think that the show should continue going, so you should be a character.
I didn't buy that.
Totally.
I did not buy that at all.
Yeah. And then also...
I guess we've seen that he's like would have a lot of trouble getting another job, so that kind of... But I just... because he's so mad when he finds out.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't buy that he would be like, yeah, cool, keep it going.
Actually, I'm proud of you.
Yeah. And then, I mean, maybe it is a thing then where, like, Audi Dylan's like, oh, yeah, no, I don't work there anymore. So then you, like, to his wife. So then his wife doesn't feel tempted to, like, pick that up again.
Yeah.
Maybe, but it's, like, again, I'm like, it doesn't track. It doesn't track.
There's all these things that I would rather just be like, oh, yeah, maybe that's... yeah, I'd rather sit and speculate about it than see their attempt at it, unfortunately. Yeah, and I don't know. It's the... I think the thing that you say about it being a lot of stylistic stuff, like the very end of the episode being on film and having that real, like, 70s film thing.
Well,
it kind of looked cool, but I was like, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
I feel like that was like them trying to do like the ending of The Graduate.
Yeah.
Bridget be like that.
Yeah.
Literally.
Okay, Bridget be like that. I'd be like that too.
Yeah.
Like literally
you guys would really get along.
Yeah. The girlies be like vibing on some stuff.
Yeah.
Well, just the smacking on the glass, that happens. The kind of running away, the kind of flipping of like what you're meant to be doing and what you want to do.
Yes.
And the kind of realization of what that is. Like the famous last shot in The Graduate is this couple runs away from the wedding. And then they sit on the bus and you get this really long take of this couple sitting on the bus. And in that long take, you kind of see them realize like, oh, fuck. And that's the end of the film.
Yeah.
And it's obviously in the 70s, so it's shot on actual film.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it does feel like that's a choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, this Flip 2 film, I'm like, why?
I mean, it worked so well in the Gemma episode to show this kind of different world almost. But here it just felt like, now the end of this episode is like a film from the 70s. It's like, but nothing else in the show is...
What?
Even the stuff that was on film from that other... It wasn't... It didn't feel complete.
It served a purpose.
Yeah, and it still felt like it sat properly alongside the other stuff in the show.
Yeah, it was
this
literally
just felt like all of a sudden
representing memories.
Yeah. All of a sudden the show is just made completely differently and it had that like red sort of fade
it
thing
did
to it.
feel much more like a pastiche.
I loved the song choice.
Yeah.
It was like a little bit too
it
like...
felt a little obvious.
Even
derivative.
the level of gore in this episode, I was like, this seems like a different show now. This seems like a proper like sci-fi slasher horror thing.
Yeah.
Which I'm
the
like,
big
sure.
fight in the corridor. I was a bit like, this is a different... That's the thing where it's funny you say if this had have been a film.
Right.
That felt like something out of a movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Specifically, it felt like to me like when Austin Powers is fighting Mini-Me.
Yeah.
Because there's a bit where he's on the ground and he's like being dragged like,
Yeah.
no
No more, baby.
Poor little bugger.
And then even like Gwendolyn Christie showing up.
Yeah.
And the whole goat sacrifice thing.
Oh, yeah.
I just, again,
That's
it's
being
like,
the big answer to the mystery. Here's what the goats are for. It's like...
it's for sacrifice,
yeah.
for some kind of ritual.
Well,
It's
yeah.
like you mentioned before, it felt like a lot of stuff was like reverse engineered for fans or whatever.
Yeah.
That what literally was.
Yeah.
Like Dan Erickson was like, we put the goats in the first season to be mysterious. Didn't mean anything. People liked them, so we wrote an episode about it and we worked it into the story. It's like, we can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would you need... Okay, you have these goats there for... But what's the thing when they go and like they go to that department and they meet her for the first time and there's like a guy there who says something. He wants to see their chests.
Yeah, because he
even-
doesn't think they have belly buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That being another thing, yeah.
Yeah, and also just like I guess it also introduced the idea that they've done many of these procedures
Yes.
before. She says, Gwendolyn Christie's character says, "How many more of these do you have to kill?"
Yeah.
Yep.
And then old mate says as many as Kia calls or something like that. It just feels
The
like
dad in his own
okay.
little weird room
Oh, yeah.
watching all this stuff.
Oh,
like,
and just I hate computer acting.
Mm.
When someone's like watching someone and going, fuck. It's the
Yeah.
worst.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
I
you
was-
don't
yeah,
trust
that was
us
laugh
to.
out loud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, it's like, what's the point of him watching
Yeah.
if not to like represent like, oh, the plan hasn't gone to.
Yeah.
But it's like you also had the other guy in the other room who looks like an aged up Ben Stiller.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, in the other room going like, oh no, like
Yeah.
it just seems like it kind of seemed like goonish.
Mhm.
And I feel like the cool thing about casting that the big is he Finnish, the actor
Icelandic. I believe.
Icelandic. I thought the cool thing about casting him was he wasn't playing like a thug.
Yeah.
He had an imposing physical presence, but he was playing this kind of softly spoken, like ominous guy. And then to just see him like flinging old mate around like he's Spider-Man, like just like it just was like, man, it's
It
just
totally felt very
Because then,
Yeah.
that you also realize, like, oh, well, that's why they cast Gwendolyn Christie, because she's 6'3".
Yeah.
And she's going to have a fight scene with the other big guy.
yeah.
Not, and it's like, oh, yeah, okay, they showed us her in, like, what, episode 1 or 3? Or something?
I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Two,
Whichever
yeah.
the big innie episode was. And then she's just gone for a while, and then, comes back to have a fight scene, basically.
Yeah. I will say, love Sandra Bernhard popping back in
Yes.
this one.
Yep.
And her going, that fuckos ran off. I was like, oh, that's why you get Sandra Bernhard, is to
Yeah,
say
totally.
fucko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Was
will
it-
say, I thought everyone delivered a really good performance.
Yes.
I don't think there was any issues with the acting.
It's the spouse.
Yeah.
It's the spouse.
I like him waving the gun in her face and her going, no! And he's like
Yeah.
going, yes!
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, if this was just a little self-contained, fun little project, I would have been like, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of cool shit in there.
And I liked the whole, the element of it being this heist and this plan of like, it's me on this floor, then I get down and it's the other, like, all that stuff. I was like, I was into it.
Yeah.
I genuinely overall did like a lot of this. But it's just, when you think about it on the whole and what it's maybe going to like set up for the next season, it's just like, I don't know, you want to be like, oh, I can't wait to see
I know.
what happens next.
Yeah.
Not like, I don't know, I
don't know
guess
how
they'll
they're gonna pull this
probably
off.
watch
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, again, if they do pull it off, fucking, that's a hell of a job you've done there.
Yeah.
But
also, you
yeah.
didn't need a second season to cause problems to yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
To make it an interesting third.
Yes.
You know,
That's very true. Yeah.
I just feel like the experience of watching this, I just can't watch vibes-based TV anymore.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? And I also think as well, there's a way to talk about these topics of identity, existentialism, like who we are in like this place, like labor, capitalism. Like Mad Men is such a good, example of this kind of storytelling where it's like it's very in its own world, it's very specific and stylized and stuff like that, but it's all centered still around like people
Yes.
and humans, and sometimes those humans are drunk and then make mistakes or whatever, whereas this kind of thing where it's like, oh, we've just gone full like ooky spooky, like it's a religious cult and also people have guns and also I don't know, I just was like, it just, you wouldn't see a Mad Men episode where like someone just pulls out a gun and starts shooting people. You know what I mean? There's no blood splattered episode of this.
Yeah.
There's no point where like they go up into old meat. Like, and there are like in Mad Men, there are episodes where there ghosts of people appear, you know?
Yeah.
And like
yeah.
even then you're like, oh, it's
a
a
whole
bit
episode is a flashback. Like,
Yeah.
there is stuff. Yeah.
stylistically it does take risks, but it's never like we're a different genre of a show now.
Yeah.
We're a different. Actually, the thing we've been saying is this completely different other thing now.
Yeah. It's very interesting because a lot of people didn't struggle to get into the first season of Severance because it was a slow burn. Like, it was well paced, but it was slow, and it built up to essentially one big event. Whereas a lot of people are criticizing the third season of The White Lotus because it is that. It is a slow burn, clearly building up to a big, crescendo at the end where a lot of stuff goes wrong and becomes, quite eventful. I feel like even the things that you touched on there, Jen, of like, the class consciousness and the sort of sense of self is being done more subtly in White Lotus than Severance.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
I think what it is too is like White Lotus has this kind of elegant framework that it's created for itself, which is like it's a whodunit, but it's whodunit and who died, like, and that's it, and it's a story told in reverse, right? So that's the framework of it, that's the start, and that's the genre it sits in, and then it just kind of transplants. And every season they kind of go into these different types of relationships and stuff like that, but essentially that's what it is. Severance is a show ostensibly about identity and corporations. But could I tell you what genre it is at this point? Could I tell you what, like,
I know, and like
what it's saying about people or the way we relate to each other? Like, no.
And shows too, as they get more popular, like something like Breaking Bad, where I feel like at the start of it, it's almost played a little bit for laughs. Like I remember hearing the premise of it and thinking like, oh, is this a comedy? Like it's the dad from Malcolm in the Middle and he's a teacher who starts cooking drugs. And like,
Jesse's this crazy kid.
And like, there's like that early episode where the bathtub falls through the... And I remember not really liking it.
The
I was
pizza's on the roof type thing.
I remember feeling like at the beginning of it, like it was a bit too zany. And the first season took me a couple goes. And it definitely gets more intense and shifts from there, but not in a way where you really feel like you're watching that first season and going like, oh, this is a completely different show. It's just like the circumstances change a little bit and they do it gradually and subtly enough that you kind of don't really notice that it's gotten into this like way more intense, like way, like all of a sudden it's like really cooking. This is just like, it feels jarring to all of a sudden be like, oh, now someone's got a gun and they're covered in blood. It's like,
it's like that
I don't know.
improv
This just isn't the rules that you set up for yourself.
It's
like now I've got a gun.
Yeah, it's like the like worst improv you imagine, where it's like at the end of it, someone goes, "I got a gun," and they just kill everyone, and that's it. And you're like, cool. Like, why did we do all this work trying to build a world and like characters and relationships?
Like, you want to like. It is interesting when a show sort of like, starts to break its own rules or push it as far as it can. But at the same time, it's like, you have to have your things that you've established that are just like, this is what the show is. This can't be fucked with too much.
I just think as well, like, there's this thing of like, you've got to kill the cat sometimes, right? Like, you've just got to, break the rules that you set yourself. But it's like, I don't know who the fuck the cat is at this point. Like, I don't know, like... I don't know what I'm watching. I don't know what I'm meant to feel about any of this. I'm not sure if I'm meant to be like rooting for Mark now or
going
rooting
back
for Helly
going back and watching listening to the pod about season 1 where like that dynamic of Mark really is the company man in there and he gets his world kind of changed by Helly's arrival and her being the one that's so... against it and everything. And then, that reveal that she's actually, the most kind of connected of anyone to now.
Which again, not to interrupt, but that at the end of the first season felt like an irreconcilable problem of the world, right? Like they've exposed it. She herself has so gone against everything her Audi stands for by doing this. And then they started the second season being like, actually, no one actually heard about that.
Yeah, you're right.
Fine.
That's like such an unexplored dynamic of like, it's so interesting. And they talk about this on the podcast, how much they enjoy doing it when you see the world at large's kind of opinion of the severance procedure. And so she very publicly is like, they keep us prisoner up there.
We're getting tortured.
And then the next day is like, I was drunk. Like in the real world, if that happened... you would get in this modern day. I don't think anyone would buy that.
There'd be heat.
There would still be people protesting out the front. There would be people trying to do something about it. And this idea that like she just did this video and that worked. Like again, I don't buy it. And it just is this inconsistent like. So what reality are we in? Are we in full Twin Peaks like dreamlike state and sort of nothing matters, or are we meant to be, you know, really relating to this because it's like this is happening in a world that is basically our own, but with this like slightly heightened thing, in which case, yeah, people in the real world would be you couldn't just throw something like that out there and explain it away like that. That's not how it would work.
Yeah.
There would be more real world consequences, and it would have been so interesting to see that.
Yeah.
To see like, you know, that fake thing that they inside where they've made up the newspaper article about them being heroes. It's like, but that would be happening in the real world.
Yeah.
Show us some of that. Show us these groups going like, hey, we've got to fucking break in there and we've got to storm the building and get them out. That literally would be happening. There's no way.
Yeah.
Even just stuff like the black sludge dripping down the walls and stuff like that. Like, what was that other than a stylistic choice? What was any of this? I don't know, man. What was any of this? Other than a great hang for us.
Yeah. Got to have a good old yap about it.
Yeah.
I still looked forward to it every week, even when I wasn't.
I was always
fully
curious to
enjoying it.
see what the fuck was going to happen next.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate that White Lotus starts and you're like, oh, okay, this is a fun show to watch.
Yeah.
I saved that as the treat after I watched Severance.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
These some real people having real emotions.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah, I got into like a real discussion with my friend Simon about the show because he loves it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I just done the podcast last week with you guys and it bumped into Simon. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm just struggling. Like, these people don't seem like people. I don't care about any of them.
And what about Severance?
Yeah.
These two boys, they're fucking idiots.
These fucking guys. No, and he was like, no, I love it. I love the vibe of it. And he's like, and he was like, you know, I love that it's kind of monotonous the way that a job is. And I'm like, I guess.
I love all that too, but
it's still not.
That only gets you so.
Yeah.
You know, I loved all that in season 1 because there was also something under the hood as well.
I don't think we've seen a lot of that this season.
No.
Yeah.
It's been much more like another crazy things happening. And
yeah, you're right. In season 1, you have the effect of like, wow, the set design of the room is so cool and the old computers and shit. And then this one, it's like, yeah, they have a marching band that just lives on the floor for some reason. It's like
Milchek's doing stand-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, God.
Comedy Festival 2026.
We didn't even talk about that. Yeah.
So it was an entertaining episode. I was not bored at any point.
Yep.
I was laughing at things that were meant to be funny, sometimes things that were maybe not meant to be funny, but like I was like, there were certain things that I was like, I just love the balls of this. But yeah, that's not enough when it's part of an ongoing series. It has to make some.
I just feel like so many of the points in this show are like, haha, see, it's just like in real life. Like, haha, like they're doing a bit like about how like office parties are cringe. Or haha, they're doing a bit about how like these presentations are so insincere. Like, see, it's just like your life, and it's just like, okay, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of funny.
It's
like, have you ever seen that Brandon Wardell bit where he talks about Jerry Seinfeld does a joke where he's like, how come like Ubers you get an Uber, but with a taxi you hail a taxi? Like, I don't get an Uber, I'm hiring an Uber. And Brandon Wardell's like, brother, you haven't been in a fucking Uber in like decades. Like, you're a multi-millionaire with a show where you just drive your antique cars. Like, what the fuck is this, right? And I kind of feel like in the same way Severance is like, oh gosh, like, isn't it hard having a crush on someone in the office or whatever? Isn't like work, the conferences, aren't they so boring? And like the exercise, team building exercises are so like cringe or whatever. It's like, that's what it's got to say about corporate life.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Like, and then everything else, I'm like, and also they murder people here for some kind of religious cult.
Sure. Yeah. You're not telling us anything. You're just like, oh, well.
That was 10 weeks of our lives.
I mean, I don't know. Overall, it is so weird because there was some... the season overall, some great stuff in it.
And it had so much goodwill and momentum from the first season. Like, it really, that season, at the time, I don't know how you felt about it, Jen, necessarily watching it, you know, more recently, and then having the second season so rapidly afterwards. I really felt like the first season as its own thing was basically perfect.
Great season.
Yeah.
Really enjoyable.
But even, you know, again, like, talking about the stuff that these like huge leaps, stylistically, like that Ortbo episode,
Mm-hmm.
it seemed to me like, of course, we're going to find out that this was a simulation, or like, again, sort of the reality of the world that's been established in season 1 is that it is all quite contained. It's quite grounded in spite of being high concept. And sure, there's the goat, but that's the one little kind of like surreal, oh, I've opened a door. What's going on in there? Almost like a sort of Naked Gun visual gag kind of thing. I could, that all tracked. But then introducing this thing of just like, they just get taken out. There seemed so much about that didn't really like make sense in the reality that we'd seen of this world in season 1.
Yeah.
That it seemed to me like there has to be something more going on with that.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, they
just take them outside every now and then.
Yeah.
Well, they thought it would be cool to do that, and then they did it and didn't really justify it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't like it just didn't the reality of that didn't track for me. And I was giving it the benefit of the doubt that it'd be for some other, there'd be something more to it, part of the mystery or whatever. But
it's huffing its own farts, the show.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yes. Exactly. It became self-serious. If it was all still a comedy or more of a comedy, it'd be like, that's okay. I don't really care about that.
silly stuff happens. And
Yeah.
The idea that like Mark chooses Helly, I'm like, well, I don't care about those, and I would have loved to have seen more of their romance.
Yeah, for sure.
Because what we got in this season was they sleep together at the Orpo, but then he finds out it wasn't really her. Then they sleep together again.
He fucks her under a tarp.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then he doesn't come
And
to
whom
work
amongst us hasn't?
Then he doesn't come to work for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And then he leaves his wife for her.
Yeah.
That's it. If you really look at the timeline of their relationship, it's like they fuck. Then she's like, oh, I wish I fucked you. Then they fuck again. Then he's away for a bit, comes back with a hole in the back of his head and is like, oh, my wife's out there, but let's hang out. Like, that's not enough.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, the back and forth between the two Marks where Mark is like, they're talking about reintegration and like, what does that mean? It's like, oh, well, our memories combine, It's not like I get rid of you. And Innie Mark is like, yeah, but I've only been alive for like 2 years, so really, when we merge together, I'll just be a tiny part of that. And it's like, you're not a person.
Yeah.
You're...
And you never
you're
were
just
a
his
person.
work life.
Yeah.
Like you're talking to yourself with different memories.
That's like if your Twitter feed was like, hey, don't delete me. I am you.
Yeah.
I have friends on here.
Please don't take a social media break.
Yeah.
I'll be so bored.
I'll be so bored. So it'll just be you in real life?
Yeah.
I won't be wasting 8 hours of my day anymore.
Yeah.
And how is like, I don't know. Yeah. I just don't see
how important these invisible strangers are to me.
Yeah.
The big thing of like, oh, well, what's going to happen now in season 3? It's like, I mean, if you're Lumen, these people just did this. There's been catastrophic day for you. Cold Harbour's done. Oh, we'll flick the switch.
Yeah.
Buy Innie Mark.
Yeah.
Like, how is that?
Buy Audi Gemma. If you can, you can just switch
Yeah.
her back to like one of the innies, right? Like,
Yeah.
you can
How do you introduce any kind of like? I don't know. I don't know how they can. Again, I'd love if they did a complete turnaround and like pulled it, but just again, it feels like it's going to be one of those things where there'll be this like fabricated like reasoning for them to not do it. It's like, why aren't you just doing that as the alarms are going off? Why isn't someone just doing that now as they're
like,
running through the hallway? Lock the whole building down.
It reminds me a bit of Hunger Games. Like, and, it's a thing of, like, the first Hunger Games where Katniss is trying to save that guy and stuff like that. It breaks the rules of the game, right?
Yeah.
Right.
They're breaking the rule of the game. The usual outcome is this, and then now they're trying to do this. And then the second... movie is about Katniss coming back and she's going back in again. And it's just like... I don't know. I'm like, that's more elegant than this. Because they've actually created stakes to this, which is like, if she doesn't, then she dies. If she doesn't, then her family dies. If she doesn't, then a bunch of people die.
Yeah.
And like, instead, this is like, well, if Mark doesn't go to work, nothing changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Like,
Yeah.
his wife's still dead, effectively.
Right.
like he knows she's alive, so then it's like, okay, cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, even
I'm
like
not
I
even
thought,
making sense
Cobell
anymore.
having the evidence of there'd be a way to like get the company fucking taken down or
Yeah.
get in there by other means and
Yeah.
get her out. Like, if you've got like some sort of
Yeah.
evidence that they faked this woman's death and are holding her hostage,
Yeah.
Right.
like
I
I don't know.
Also,
But again-
if she's getting monitored so much that she shows up at her family home for 15 minutes and then the fucking whatever Lumen police come in,
Mm.
then how did they just sit at the fucking birthing cavern
Yeah.
for so long?
Yeah,
Also, if we are to understand, the only way that this makes sense, so Cobell is angry at Lumen now, but also kind of always was because she invented Severance. And so as the audience, we're like, great, she's going to help Mark out, and that's her goal. It was always going to lead to all of the innies being essentially killed, I guess. Did they not think about a way to frame that to Innie Mark before telling him, you're our only hope to do this plan? Like,
Yeah.
we were just going to assume he was okay to die.
But it's also like, what's his name? Fucking Walken got like retired. So
Yeah.
they have a language around this.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
is,
Yes.
and then they go, oh, well, that just means he's dead now.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
they have a funeral for him. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it seems like that happens to all of you at one point. Why
Yeah.
are you different?
Yeah.
I don't understand why they literally play out this scenario. And also the same problem again. Walken and Totoro's characters are in love inside Severance, and then they on the outside can't be together because they're in different. Like
Yeah.
this is already played out, and we've already
Yeah,
watched it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just even being able to say to Innie Mark the argument of like, I mean, surely, yeah, you're the Innie. Your whole life is just being at work, and they have their things where they're like, we find things to make it, enjoyable for ourselves or whatever. But you really get the sense with Christopher Walken's character in season 1 that it's like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't exist anymore, but hey, my existence is just being in the office.
Yeah.
So surely you get, if you're Outie Mark, you have the argument of just saying like, hey, guess what? Like, I know that, you're going to have to give up this romance and that's going to be really hard. But you get to experience the rest of the world.
Yes.
Like, you get to experience fresh air.
Yeah.
And going out for a nice meal.
Yeah.
And going to a party, seeing a concert, seeing like all these things.
There are ways
you
to
get
explain it.
It's like,
of,
isn't that nice that
Yeah.
you get to like you're not losing a person and that's it.
Yeah.
You're gaining an entire life and you're losing a person that you can't be together with. This whole thing of it being a conflict that he can't talk him around on, it's like, you're just saying all the wrong stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Innie Mark, you actually do like see the real world. You get to see. You go to the beach. You go visit beautiful sights. You have a wonderful wife.
You
that
could
you'll
start a
get to see again.
podcast.
Yeah.
This
a
all-
beautiful podcast.
Well,
Do you think they have 7 podcasts?
or they would have a corporate one, right?
Yeah.
A corporate
Yeah.
little
Oh,
7th
yeah,
floor
yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
But anyway, like you are experiencing these things. You just don't remember.
Yeah.
So this will mean that all of your memories are that.
Yeah.
It's not you not existing. It's you getting to remember the rest of your life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you won't just get absorbed into me. You'll all of a sudden, you'll be flooded with the memories of like, the feeling of sand in your toes.
Yeah,
The,
yeah.
like all this,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
Well-
don't know.
We got to wrap this up.
yeah.
Yeah. Season 2, I reckon 5 stars.
Yeah.
No faults.
Yep.
5 bags of popcorn and I'm going to throw in 1 disassembled baby crib.
Oh.
Oh.
Why did she wasn't the one who had disassembled it in real life. It was Mark. Why was that
Yeah.
a trigger? Oh God.
Yeah.
We've got to wrap it up.
Yeah, that
could
felt
go for a
again.
long
That felt
time.
like another stylistic. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
a woman in a
Yeah.
completely white room building a crib
Yeah.
Yeah.
or taking apart a crib.
Women do be like that though, don't you think?
Women be wearing coats in white rooms disassembling cribs.
Oh,
Spoilers, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Using the screwdriver and then eventually just pulling it apart with her hands.
Yep.
Mm.
What's
Yep.
this? What's that about?
I don't know.
What the hell?
What the hell?
What the hell?
Because when Mark did it, he was drunk.
Mm.
But when she's doing it, she's not drunk.
Yeah.
Mm.
What a great show.
Tommy be like, time to wrap up.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everyone. We'll see you next week for just some White Lotus chat. Imagine if
Yes.
White Lotus immediately now just
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
They pull out the gun and start shooting.
It
people.
becomes a tsunami drama.
Oh.
The tsunami hits the
A
island.
tsunami.
Yeah.
They're like, tsunami.
See you now.
And then, like, I guess the murderer was climate change.
Mother Earth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, Jen.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jen.
guys. Nice to see you in person.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
and,
everyone.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.